Hi guys, and welcome back to the South Korean ladder, as I have once again found a very long game here from Nada, who is spawning here in the lower left as the purple Terran, and his opponent here in the lower right in the orange. It is TUFGAS. Sadly, I don't know who this Protoss is. I only know that he's Korean, or very likely Korean, as this has been played on the South Korean ladder. So we should have once again a very interesting game after we saw Nada almost coming back against a Protoss with carriers. Now once again it's going to be a very long replay versus a Protoss. And is it going to be carriers once again? I don't know. I didn't watch the replay, but we should of course have a very good game here in between the two Protoss. We actually see already a very sneaky gameplay here by the Protoss, moving out very early with one probe and even the second probe here. So could this be a cannon rush? We're about to find out if these are indeed the plans from the Protoss. Already sending out two probes early on, 1 minute mark. The first probe is going to find the base from Nada, and is it going to try to steal perhaps the gas? Could also be an interesting idea. So yes, indeed, there it is. So yeah, stealing the gas early on. Of course, Nada not able to react fast towards that, being busy going for his supply depot and his barracks. And now the harassment continues here from the Protoss, as he's still dealing damage towards an SCV. So quite annoying early on, but the Protoss not paying attention. He's dropping very low, so Nada with a good reaction here, even though very high APM here for the Protoss. Is he going to cancel the gas now? I believe this was his early harassment, just pretty much cancelling the gas and just trying to snipe one SCV or two into the early game. So yeah, let's check his main. There's the gateway. Now he might be sending out a couple of zealots early on, so quite an aggressive early game here by the Protoss, denying the gas. It's going to be very hard for Nada to go for those factory units. So yeah, let's just see how the game is going to continue. The Protoss still has vision from the main here from Nada, as very soon I'm sure the first Marine should be able to take care of this early harassment. And even this probe is still chasing an SCV here. So very good fight here in between an SCV and the probe, but the probe of course did restore the shields. And yeah, very nice micro here by both players. Let's just see who's going to win it. In the end, the pro being a little bit too strong here, thanks to a little bit more shield battery. So yeah, a good early game here by the Protoss, actually sniping one SCV, stealing the gas as we close towards the 3 minute mark. Let's check his main once again. Is he going for some zealots? Still no rally point interesting enough for him. So perhaps too busy microing the probes out of danger, and now even sniping the second SCV. So yeah, quite a good early game by him, as the assimilator is going to be finally killed. And I believe you actually need gas to build a factory. I could be wrong, but it should of course be gas, or is it as Nada goes for his expansion here, actually with 4 Marines already. So if you micro those 4 Marines really good, the Zealot will of course stand no chance. But yeah, in he comes. Actually it's even 5 Marines I believe very soon. Some SCVs could also be good in the front to give some cover, as we see a second Zealot move out. And yes, indeed, no factory, or is it no factory yet here for the Terran. So I believe you need gas to build the factory. Sorry, I'm not that good at Starcraft. But yeah, the bunker is almost finished here for Nada, as the 2 Zealots will very likely try to bypass this. If the Protoss is smart, could just went forward and ignore that, but he just stood by, losing 1 Zealot. He just tried to inflict as much damage as he could towards those Marines. 1 very low, so 2 more could be sniped here for the Protoss, but in the end the bunker will of course give good cover there. So we have very early aggressive move out here by the Protoss, sniping even the 3rd Marine. He might be even lucky to snipe another SCV here. So quite a very hard to micro early game here for both players. Very annoying of course for the Terran to deal with this early on. Gas has been stolen now, some Marines will fall, SCVs have to be pulled. So quite a very hard early game indeed to have as a Terran. I believe that's exactly what the plan from this Protoss was. That's why exactly he did send out those 2 probes early on. And yeah, pretty good micro here by him. Let's not forget that he also has this expansion right here. Of course some probes will be on idle, given the fact that he just micros those zealots and even snipes yet another SCV. Worker wise, pretty much the same worker amount. Perhaps the Protoss a little bit in of an advantage given the fact that he has the expansion a little bit early than his opponent. Now the range is not on for the Dragoons, the Protoss just establishing the contact line here, so he's just taking control out of this street right here just to know when or if a Terran move out is going to happen. So yeah, pretty much leaving the Dragoon there. I believe some reinforcements will be sent out. He might have 2 gateways already here at home. He might go for an observatory very soon, just in case the Terran goes for some vultures, as we even have an engineering base. So Nada pretty much expecting a DT rush, so Dark Templar rush, of course. With the invisible units you need some turrets to detect them, so that's exactly why he's going for this engineering bay, even expecting a dropship harassment here by the opponent, but I believe it's going to be only some observers, or who knows, maybe some reavers could be added, as the Protoss goes for yet another expansion here. So establishing control of this exit right here, showing his presence, forcing Nada to repair the bunker with 4 SCV, so some mining time has been lost, but a good reaction here by Nada. He has a tank out, he just needs to be careful not to lose it, as yet another Dragoon has been brought forward. So yeah, the Protoss very smartly here, moving here forward, almost killing the tank, taking however quite some damage out of the bunker, so he might try to snap a SCV or 2, and yeah, very annoying and a very hard game, like I told you here, for the Terran early on, as of course it's an observatory here for the Protoss, so he's not really trying to be that much aggressive. Now I believe he's going to calm down and just try to gain as much of a map control as possible, and just securing all of those expansions. So a very smart move by him, going for a macro game right now. In the end he's going to try to overwhelm his opponent with the economic advantage, and yeah, Nada not even showing his presence towards the enemy. Perhaps a dropship could be a good idea here for him. A dropship with 4 vultures could actually deal massive amounts of damage here into this location. The Dragoons are very far out, so the dropship here or even into the main would pretty much destroy or cripple the economy from the opponent. So all of the units here for the Protoss have been gathered in the front. There's literally no defenses at home for him. There's the observatory, sorry, the observer, and let's see if Nada is indeed going for that. No, he's actually playing very safe, very defensively, but of course the best defense is the offense actually, and to attack, and a very precautious gameplay here by Nada. He really expects a drop here from the opponent, but no such thing. Does he even have scan? No, he has no satellite at home, perhaps at the expansions. So yeah, maybe he knows the opponent, maybe he has played him a couple of times, and every time the Protoss might have done a Dark Templar rush or a Weaver rush, but in this scenario he's actually going for some expansions here, playing also very macro oriented, very safe, even transferring some units. But yeah, perhaps Nada is going to watch the replay and think about the fact that a drop with those fast moving vultures would have been very good here into this game. Now Nada could be lucky, he might be able to snipe some probes here. So very lucky move out here by him, even surprising move out here by him. Very good job by him. And yeah, probe after probe is going to fall here, so quite a lucky move indeed to those vultures at the right time, in the right place, even planting some mines. The observer is very far out. Oh no, there he is. So yeah, very lucky snipe here by Nada. His vultures are a little bit trapped now in the at the 1 o'clock position here, so yeah, but Nada pretty much knows now that the Protoss has heavily invested into those expansions, so he will very likely try to transition perhaps into more mech units. He might even try to do a timing push versus the opponent around the 11-minute mark, as more and more mech units are getting prepared here for him. More and more factories, actually at 5 factories here. A nice hidden turret here by him, I really like that. And yeah, the vultures in the end will be sniped. The Protoss and the Terran pretty much at the same worker amount, but a better positional game here for the Protoss, even snapping the SCV, so not really allowing Nada to go for his second expansion, while he already has his second expansion pumping, and even his third expansion pumping out minerals. So yeah, Nada tries of course to inflict some damage with some mines in the back at the same time. He's moving forward, so we do indeed have a timing push. Nada calculating the fact that he has more yields than the opponent, given the fact that the Protoss has heavily invested into those expansions. So this could be actually a winning move here for Nada, having the vultures in the front, sniping those dragoons. Very good stuff by him. So finally the Protoss taking quite some damage. Still, however, having more workers, is he going to be able to hold against the push from the opponent? And yeah, actually those dragoons are pretty much needed into the middle of the map, as Nada is slowly but steadily moving out to give protection towards his own expansion right here. So we have passed the 10-minute mark. Very interesting game we have here indeed, as some vultures try to make it here forward, but in the end the way is shut with some pylons, and with that the Protoss might even take the expansion right here. So yeah, slowly but steadily Nada is pushing out. He knows of course that the best defense is of course the movement out of those tanks. He might even be lucky to snipe some dragoons here. The Protoss not paying attention, so losing dragoon after dragoon, of course sniping some vultures, but those dragoons are very important. And a great micro here by Nada, microing those vultures out of danger, planting those mines. Now he needs to be careful not to step into those mines. Now finally the dragoons coming from the back, so a surprising move here by the Protoss. All of a sudden he's the one in advantage here, sacrificing some dragoons, but at the same time taking out important units here from the opponent. So a nice back and forward gameplay here, as now the expansion is pretty much exposed, so Nada in some trouble. He has to plant those mines. There is an observer here. We even have zealots with speed, so all of a sudden a very good position here for the Protoss. But those zealots actually need to be in the front. The dragoons are pretty much blocking here the entrance. The tanks are just shooting without taking damage, and even the mines are getting some good connections. So all of a sudden this just shows how what of a bad position the Protoss has. Now finally he did open up the gates and move forward with the zealots. So if this would have continued, the Protoss would have taken even more damage, but yeah, Nada seems to be holding. So what has started with a great fight for the Protoss has turned into a disaster, as he's decided here to attack onto this small gap, and the Terran just pretty much sieging up here with 2 or 3 tanks. Even 2 tanks would have been enough, so the Protoss with quite a mistake. It looks like he hasn't learned from his mistakes. He's coming once again forward. There are no tanks here for Nada, so I believe that's exactly why the Protoss is still showing his presence here. And finally one tank does arrive, and with that I believe the Protoss will not do the same mistake, and yeah, just backs off. So let's just check the upgrades. One weapons upgrade here for the Terran for Nada, 0-0 for the Protoss, but he has the expansion right here, and this one actually a very smart move here by Nada, denying this expansion with a mine into this location. So smart gameplay here indeed for the Terran, as he somehow tries to keep the Protoss at bay. But if you look at the worker count, there are so many more workers here for the Protoss. Nada with some great engagements, a very good defense here on the high ground. But yeah, let's just see how the game is going to continue, as the Protoss seems to be all over the map, having good map control, good map vision, and even just expanding all over the map. Yeah, Nada will try of course to counter this with some drive-bys with the vultures. But yeah, I still believe that the dropship harassment could have been better. Perhaps you guys have a better idea than me. But yeah, dropship with vultures early on might be a good decision, even into the middle game, as you can still see this expansion right here just pretty much undefended. All of the units here for the Protoss once again here, but in comes the attack with the shuttles, with the zealots on the ground. No mines here into this location, so nothing is getting put, so pretty good stuff here by Nada. The shuttle taking more and more damage, so it will be taken out very soon. In the end, tank after tank is going to fall here, so sadly here for Nada he's losing more and more. Now just a couple of vultures will get some good shots, and the mines will get some good connections, but in the end looks like the Protoss has too many dragoons. However, we do have some defenses in the back with some 3 tanks. Even the high ground would have been very good here for Nada. At the same time, some vultures did try to counter this expansion right here, but we do even have a cannon here. However, this expansion is going to be denied here by Nada, so a nice macro game indeed, as we will pass the 15-minute mark very soon. Still, I believe no upgrades here for the Protoss, and this could actually cost him, as the Terran Nada already having 1-1 upgrades. Flash has also shown us into this channel how important the upgrades for the mech units are into the late game. So yeah, as the game continues, the Protoss just focusing onto his sheer mass of units, just pumping out more and more units out of those gateways, sending out the zealots in the front. Smart move by him. he's not really making it forward. Now the shuttle finally arrives with some great drops. The Weaver is here, but it will be fastly taken out. At the same time, some tanks is following here as well. And yeah, more and more is getting sent out here by the Protoss. But the tanks are nicely spread. Perhaps some high temperatures with storms will be needed. Tanks on the high ground, the Protoss is pretty much going to take more and more damage. As Nada still holds. But yeah, economic wise, he is still behind. So perhaps the Protoss knows this, and he knows that he can sacrifice some units versus the Terran. And yeah, a very hard game indeed here for Nada, as the Protoss just keeps on building more and more gateways, even having 2 robotics facility bay and 2 forges at home. So finally he understands how important the upgrades are into the middle game and into the late game. So he has 1 weapons done, and the Terran at 1-1 as well here for him. So yeah, 15-minute mark has been passed. Let's just see how the game is going to continue. A very good positional game here by both players, perhaps with a small advantage here by the Protoss, as he just keep on rebuilding more and more gateways, actually having 4 here and 4 into this location. Now we're going for Templar Archive, so we might see indeed some storms, some high Templars with storms, a much needed unit into the late game. Not of course playing the usual mech strategy from the Terrans versus the opponent. And yeah, I wonder when we're going to be seeing some battle cruisers. I think it's going to be very cool to have some battle cruisers, perhaps even fights from battle cruisers versus carriers. As yeah, let's just see how the game is going to continue. The Protoss just moving here out, finally a good move and finally a dropship here by Nada, bypassing all of those rams, not even having the control of the high ground. So with that, he might even be able to siege here up and inflict damage towards the incoming Protoss units. And we even have double siege tanks here into this dropship. We saw how strong those siege tanks are, and yeah, they should be easily be able to take out the Dragoon right here. Even going to try perhaps to siege up, as more and more vultures are getting brought forward. And all of a sudden a very good position here by Nada. So we see how important the dropship is for the Terran, actually, as some damage will be taken here by the Protoss. In the end, this will of course be clear. The Protoss is coming forward with all of his reinforcements. But a very good move, a very smart move here by Nada, causing some chaos, causing some panic towards the Protoss, forcing him to stay back. And at the same time, Holden is actually moving here forward with so many vultures. A very smart move, just pretty much attacking those zealots, dealing so much splash damage. A very nice move by him with those fast moving vultures, taking the Protoss by surprise. Even establishing a highway here of mines, so very hard for the Protoss to move here forward. He's going to have to wait for his observers. And yeah, of course, speed has to be done, as he has to check the ground for some mines. Yeah, we're closing towards the 20-minute mark. It's still anyone's game, a very balanced game, and like I told you, just a small advantage perhaps here for the Protoss, as he has more workers than Nada. But in the end, Nada can of course counter this with perfectly placed siege tanks and good mine control, good mines on the ground, sorry. So yeah, the Protoss is very likely going to try to take out the newly established base, this one or perhaps this one right here. Let's see if he's going to be successful. At the same time, he's also taking some expansions right here. Nada once again counters it with some vultures. Smart gameplay here by him. Those vultures are really fast on the ground, so the Protoss might be forced once again either to come back at home or to attack here forward. Now remember, the Protoss is very impatient. It's moving forward. The siege tanks are perfectly sieged up here in the back, getting some good protection. Finally in comes the shot with the zealots. Now the siege tanks will deal damage towards themselves with the splash damage. But yeah, in the end, we have some great triple groups here of siege tanks. So now finally some zealots do make it here forward, but a nice spread indeed here by Nada, as we now finally have some high temperatures with storms. In the end, yeah, the Protoss might have the economic advantage, but positional wise, a very smart move here by Nada, spreading those tanks, having this group and even this group established right here. So very good defensive control here by Nada, as once again our regular dropship has been used here, and the perfect position all of a sudden here by Nada, as he's attacking a very important expansion here from the opponent. At the same time, we do see the reaction here from the Protoss, attacking the newly established base. But yeah, the production buildings are getting attacked now here by Nada. At the same time, this base pretty much under control. Very soon the workers actually have been sniped, and if you look at the mini map, it's only 10 more workers now here for the Protoss. versus the Terran. So all of a sudden I believe Nada seems to be having the advantage right here. The Protoss trying to counter with some Dark Tempest, with some Zealots. He might be able to snap his 2-2 upgrades. So yeah, very important to have those upgrades. Finally it is going to be snap right here, but the damage has been already done here by Nada. At the same time he has established control of this newly expansion right there. So yeah, these two bases of course very important now for the Terran, as it's the only bases mining. At the same time Protoss only mining from two bases right here, but so many workers have been snapped here. Of course he's going to try to rebuild, but Nada with a great move once again. Yeah, the defenses here for the Protoss onto this base pretty much catastrophically, as he's taking more and more damage, more and more workers are falling. So that base right there at the 12 o'clock, pretty much a disaster here for the Protoss, as Nada is moving more and more forward, just with a couple of upgraded vultures, going to be able to snap so many probes. He's actually going for the cannon. Perhaps the probes would have been a better idea, and yeah, now finally he changed his mind and he's going for more and more of those probes, establishing control now of the mineral line with the vultures in the back. A very, very good move by him. There is the counter by the Protoss. I believe he tried to perhaps snap some buildings at home, or perhaps try to storm. Maybe he had a successful storm here indeed. So pretty much sorry about this one. We could actually go back to see what the Protoss has done there. Let's just have a look if he had some success with his shuttle. Yeah, as the game continues here. So yeah, like I told you, there's the shuttle. Let's see what it has loaded. Pretty much just Zealots. I believe he even might have had a second shuttle here, and yeah, there is the first attack here by Nada with of course a very good reaction by him. I'm going to make it a little bit faster. Just trying to look for it. It's actually double shuttle here for him. So double shuttle coming here for Zealots. What exactly? He is actually going for those tanks. Interesting move here by the Protoss, going for the tanks, not going for the SCVs. Finally there is the Psionic Storm against the SCV. So both players pretty much taking care of the economy of each other. Pretty much hard to out-micro this, given the fact that Nada was of course busy microing those vultures out of danger. I believe that's exactly why he attacked the cannon instead of the probes. So a very good timing push, perfect timing here for both players. High Templar Storms, perhaps they could have obliterated all of the mineral line here, but the Protoss, interesting enough, he decided to storm the tanks. So yeah, let's have a look at the workers. All of a sudden Nada with 5 more workers here than his opponent. So yeah, all of a sudden he's slowly but steadily gaining advantage here onto this game. Good upgrades here finally for the Protoss. Let's have a look at the Terran. He should close towards the 3-3 mark. Yes indeed, there it is. So yeah, still anyone's game. I'm just going to build a picture here. Nada still with his same nice harassment, and yeah, so many vultures opening up the floodgates. Finally the Protoss will take more and more damage. Of course it's looking like a suicide mission, but in the end it's pretty much worth it to just sacrifice those vultures. So much economic damage has been taken here by the Protoss, and in the end I believe it was all worthy. All of a sudden now Nada having 10 more workers than his opponent. So after a long economic advantage here for the Protoss, all of a sudden Nada, if you ask me right now, I believe he has the advantage. No carriers this time for the Protoss. He's pretty much going into an all-in with gateway units. This is going to cost him, as Nada still with the same fast-moving vultures, showing how strong they can be into the late game. Let's not forget that they have 2-2 upgrades, and yeah, some of them will be snapped, but in the end more and more economic damage has been taken here by the Protoss. Even some probes on idle. Very, very hard game now for the Protoss. Perhaps his early aggressive gameplay will cost him right here, as now Nada is the one moving slowly but steadily out onto the map, planting more mines, gaining more control of the map, even perhaps going to try to establish a base here into the upper left part. Or is he? He's just still doing the same trick right here, moving out with his vultures. We do however have triple shuttles for the opponent, and let's see if he's going to be successful. Of course the Zealots will be dropped first. The tanks are going to react. The real damage dealers will of course be the High Templars against the siege tanks once again. So not deciding to go for the SCVs. He's going for the siege tanks now. In comes the backup. A little bit of a interesting move here by the Protoss. Perhaps a mistake by him, moving once again up to the ramp. A very impatient gameplay here by him, and once again the Dragoons are actually blocking his own units. So this would be once again catastrophically here if you would attack, and smart move here by Nada, just pretty much blocking here the entrance, allowing those tanks to be alive, blocking the entrance with those supply depot. Well, hold on, Nada with a great move here, moving forward with his tanks, with the dropships, and it looks like indeed dropship seems to be the answer for the Terran into the late game, making those tanks really mobile. So of course they're very slow. Now the Protoss reacting with some drops, with some high tempers. Very good job here by him, obliterating those tanks. But yeah, like I told you, the tanks are very slow onto the ground, and the dropships, the perfect shuttle here for those tanks. And once again, here comes Nada. He seems to be all over the map, gaining more and more the economic advantage here over the opponent. So once again, a failed attack here by the Protoss. Very impatient gameplay here by him. And yeah, Nada with those dropships all of a sudden, very strong, very present all over the upper right part, and at the 12 o'clock position here as well. Perhaps his next targets are going to be the production buildings from the opponent, either that or he's going to go for a massive attack, as slowly but steadily we close towards the 30-minute mark. So we have passed the 25-minute mark. It could be also a doom drop here with lots and lots of dropships. He only has 3. Let's just see where is he going. Perhaps towards the newly established bases. This is a very important base, this right here as well. The Protoss just has to guess where exactly the next drop is going to happen here. So yeah, my voice is slowly but steadily giving up. Let's just see who is going to win the game. In comes the drop once again with only 3 drop ships with tanks. Tanks it is here, as the Vultures have already established control of this 12 o'clock. Now this position right here, pretty much a disaster for the Protoss, as he has taken so much damage. And now he's going to try to counter the expansion right here, but Nada could even siege on the high ground. That's exactly what he's doing, scanning the area, giving vision towards those tanks. And yeah, once again the ramp is working against the Protoss. So right here I believe an Arbiter with some recoils could have been perfect for him. Either that or a transition towards carriers in case carriers would be possible, but yeah, no such thing here for the Protoss. Just pretty much massing early aggressive moves, stealing gas, and then just massing gateway units with upgrades. Doesn't really seem to work out for him, as Nada countering with some great vulture moves, and Nada only with 2 workers now ahead against his opponent. So yeah, it's still anyone's game, as let's just see if the Protoss will finally be successful with some drops, with high tempers, with zealots. With this sieging up here, taking some damage, so just trying to kill those tanks one after the other, even going for a Archon. Interesting decisions here by the Protoss, as he is actually very good into sniping those tanks. So a good move here by finally, a very good move actually here by the Protoss, as he's moving here forward with his units, going for the newly established base. Oh, sorry about this one. So sorry for that. He is going now for the SCVs, and sadly Nada for him, he doesn't have any reinforcements here. With that he's going to lose so many workers. So what a great move all of a sudden here for the Protoss. How is Nada going to react? He's just pretty much going to try to counter the upper right part, and yeah, the expansion is pretty much being lost. So there's the reaction here for Nada. He's going to try to take control of this position right here. The siege tanks need to be protected, of course, by the vultures. So many mines on the ground. Now the Protoss main army is of course here onto the upper left part, so Nada knows this is going straight forward towards those cannons, towards those probes, and it's going to be very hard here for the Protoss to come back. Needs to wait for those units to clear the mines on the ground, as Nada will of course push more and more forward. Worker wise, pretty much both players do lose some workers. We have pretty much same amount of units here for both players, but if the tanks are nicely protected in the back by the vultures, and if they are sieged up, and that's exactly what Nada is doing right here, this small gap might once again work against the Protoss, so he needs to be careful. High tempers don't really have that much energy, but he knows he has to move forward. Either that or he's going to lose his upper right part. So in comes the move, only 2 tanks here, not even getting touched. So finally they do take some damage. Now in come the vultures, just giving some protections. Now there are the shuttles in the back, but not really that much damage being taken here. Finally a good storm here by the Protoss, and could this be the winning move here by the Protoss, with all of those storms pretty much obliterating all of those tanks. So it looks like the high tempers seems to be winning the game. So a great move in the end, a lucky move here by the Protoss. So perhaps even a well calculated move here by him with those storms, showing us how important the High Templars are into the late game. Now let's just see if Nada can somehow come back for this, as he's now very lucky to snipe the High Templars. The Protoss not really reacting now, finally very late reaction by him. I believe he was exactly after having so many successful High Templar storms, but Nada seems to be having so many reinforcements for him. And yeah, the High Templars, very strong unit indeed into the late game, but the tanks, the reinforcements are exactly on time here for Nada. And the only mining base here from the Protoss is under threat right now, so all of a sudden Nada once again being back into this game after what I was thinking was the winning move by the Protoss with the High Templars, with the storms. Now High Templars, now Nada with some tanks are indeed here giving control of this base. So the upper right part, pretty much a disaster here for the Protoss. And so of course going to try to force perhaps Nada to come back, but his reinforcements are here, and I believe with that Nada might have done it here into this very long game, or did he? Yes, even the Protoss has those reinforcements down in the middle of the map. It's going to take some time for the Terran to come back here. He has control of the upper right part, but in comes the attack from the Protoss. Is it going to be enough for him? The shuttle takes so much damage. High Templar has been sniped. Zealot has been snapped in the front, and Dragoons will move here forward, but there are even some dropships here ready to control this, and with that I believe Nada might have done it. He even has some some tanks there to protect, and I believe those were the last units here for the Protoss. He has dropped to 60 of a supply, 13 workers here for him only. Nada is establishing new bases onto the ground, and yeah, it looks like Nada this time is going to win against the Protoss. So very hard early game by him. Nada now establishing the middle of the map, the control of the highway, and yeah, with that the Protoss only with a couple of units, perhaps waiting for the mana to regenerate for those High Templars coming in here forward with a desperate move, perhaps snapping the SED. Good job by him, dropping those units, trying to inflict of course as much damage as he can. Even the High Templars now once again dealing good damage. The Weavers also dealt some good damage and immediately getting taken out, but yeah, those High Templars really making life hard here for Nada. But I believe that was the last move by the Protoss. Very courageous move indeed here by him. Yeah, but in the end Nada with a very strong comeback here into this game. The dropship harassment was pretty much perfect by him, and those vultures with speed were also the winning move by him. At one point I was thinking that Protoss would have come back with those High Templars. He has a really good control of those High Templars with the storms, but yeah, mass gateway units weren't really the answer against the mech on the ground here from Nada. I don't know who TUFGAS is, but he played really well. A very nice early harassment, even stealing the gas, so perhaps that's his nickname, TUFGAS. I'm going to steal your gas no matter what. I believe that's his introduction into the game, just sending out 2 probes and stealing the gas, because why not? This is his nickname. And yeah, let's just have a look at the stats very quickly in case you guys are interested. So quite a nice back and forward game. At one point I believe, of course, the Protoss had the economic advantage, even the macro advantage, having 20 more workers at one point than his opponent. Nada playing patiently and perhaps also with some lucky move out, but in the end those dropships were a very good move by him, making those tanks very much mobile onto the map. And yeah, siege tanks with upgrades of course, very deadly into the middle game and into the late game. And yeah, let's not forget his vulture move out. The upper right part for the Protoss pretty much a mess, and the 12 o'clock position pretty much a disaster for him. Not that well defended. Perhaps some cannons would have been a good, first to build cannons would have been a good idea here for the Protoss. But yeah, in the end, Nada with a very good game. Both players played really well. The Protoss very nice, aggressive early on, but his mass gateway strategy didn't work out, even though the High Templars brought him back a little bit into the game. But yeah, in the end, Nada with the winning move. A very good game, a very long game as you can see. I'm going to try to cast as many long games as possible, as they seem to be much more popular than the short one. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It's Tommy signing out.